And just like that, we're live. Hello, everybody. Hope y'all are doing well. I'm doing fantastic. Let's go ahead and get the music back on. Get it slightly turned down. Hello, hello. Hope y'all are doing great. I'm doing wonderful. I'm excited for this stream to start. Go ahead and jump right in by me sharing the check-in link. If you're coming in from somewhere else, you can go ahead and check in. We also drop it in the Discord every time. The Discord, let's make sure my announcement's all set there. Yeah, we'll go ahead and get started in just a minute or two. We'll give folks a couple minutes to hop right on in. Come and join us. Oh, is my Discord causing issues again? Yeah, good to see you again too. Happy that you're back to another one of my streams. Glad that you're here. Oh, no. Discord. Just made my announcement. Let me go ahead and double check real quick. Make sure. All set there. Awesome. Cool. Well, fortunately, some issues in the Discord, so I can't verify everything. That being said, I think it should be all good. I can probably, let me go ahead and real quick, see if I can hit refresh. I just want to remove the little embeds because they're annoying. Discord. Come on. Open Discord in browser. Load. There's some water in the meantime. Go ahead and get settled. Hope you are doing well. I'm doing wonderful. Alright, looks like we'll have to unfortunately scrap that idea. We'll worry about that later. But yeah, for this stream, I just kind of wanted to have more of a sit-down, casual, kind of fun stream with y'all, where we talk a little bit about ideating and figuring out sort of your next artificial intelligence machine learning project. So I thought it'd be really fun for us to walk through two projects that I'm working on, and we'll kind of jump back and forth in between the two. I don't have a super set structure in place for this combo, but I thought it'd be really fun to just talk a little bit about my AI ML projects and a little bit about what I've done. So let me, go ahead and introduce myself. To start, just in case you haven't been at one of my streams earlier or you're new to the community, my name is Kari. I'm a coach at Major League Hacking, and I have been a coach for a little over a year now. I joined around this time in 2023. I love Global Hack Weeks, love all of the fun things that we get to do as coaches, and generally really enjoy being a part of the hackathon community. Well, I've been a coach for a year. I've been a part of the MLH community for much, much longer than that, having gotten my first start in right around when I entered college. So it's been a lovely ride and very, very fun to get to be a part of it. As you know, I've kind of delved through technology, learned different new things, try and discover what I want to do in my professional life, in my career, and also finding the coaches program. So that's a little bit about me. Yes, welcome again. Thank you. Happy to be back. That being said, I would say I got my entry into computer science and the world of technology in high school. So I ended up taking some coursework on building mobile applications in Swift and really, really enjoyed it. Had a fantastic time, kind of decided at that point that that is what I wanted to do moving forward, whether studying computer science in college and then moving forward into my professional career. Although I didn't really think that far ahead. I never really thought that as far as I'm definitely going to study this or definitely going to pursue this path. It was more so that it was the things that interested me. So I applied to college to study computer science because I wanted to learn more about the things that interested me. I started to seek internships in computer science because I wanted to learn things that interested me, and I wanted to have exposure to things that were exciting and fun and new and engaging in that regard. So that's a little bit about me and my entry into computer science. So I did mobile app development for a couple of years, then went to college, kind of got focused on introductory collegiate coursework and getting through the meat and potatoes of that. Then rediscovered for a bit web development, discovered hackathons right around the same time, delved into that, then rediscovered mobile apps, started working with Android, started relearning Swift, and getting really deep into those layers as well. And then finally, also getting a chance to work a little bit with the coaches program. And so kind of through Global Hack Weeks, learning and talking and having a great time in lots of different streams, right? So I've been here for a year. So my first stream was, I'm pretty sure, for AI ML Week last year. I did a technical track building out an app called Sleepy Time, which I'll actually go ahead and, you know what, will be a great segue, talking a little bit about some of the things that I did with Sleepy Time there. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we'll talk through Sleepy Time. It's a very fun project. So let me find it super quick. Yeah, there we go. So I'll go ahead and share my screen with y'all, and we'll talk a little bit through Sleepy Time here. So I had this testing project which I had built together to talk a little bit about some of the things we're gonna do during Sleepy Time. So I wrote out this whole README file, and really jumped into it and was very excited. Yeah, so there you go. I'm a student who adores mobile development, struggles with math side of artificial intelligence, like making projects that are useful, fun, and need to scale, has been focused in recent future on getting quality sleep. So anytime that I like to ideate a new project, I like to go through, and this is advice that I've given at previous hackathons, I like to go through and do what I call the ideation phase. All right, when I'm thinking about, okay, what type of project do I want to focus on for the next 36 hours, for the next series of live streams, for the next semester. We'll talk later about how I'm ideating through my semester-long project right now. But for the next semester, for the next week, for the next however long, what do I want to focus on? And so I initially start my ideation process by looking at places in my life where I could do something better, or make something better, or have a better approach to something. The way that I think about it is that if it's an issue that I struggle with, right, then A, it is easier for me to have the motivation to improve a solution, to create an effective solution. And B, I'm also more likely to remain engaged if I have the end goal in mind. So, at least personally, projects that I've done along those veins in previous times included Sleepy Time here, right? Want to focus on getting more quality sleep, or Purify, which we're working on during my other live streams, and we worked on in Global Hack Weeks Beginners, right? I want to have access to more positive affirmations, quotes, kind of build a good self-confidence and self-love in that regard. Or a different project that I worked on in as a semester-long project I did in the past, it was, okay, I want to focus on building a project that will really help this group that I'm a part of, right? So I was a part of a women's workout group on campus. They're having some issues with event management system, kind of outgrowing their specific system. So I was like, it would really, really help if I could improve their experiences, if I could improve the way that functions, right? So I try to think about it as what would make my life better. On the other hand, not every single project has to focus on making your life better. Sometimes it's about what would I enjoy working with. So maybe I want to learn a new technology, right? And so the purpose behind me completing a specific project is to learn a new technology. I've done projects like that on Global Hack Week too, right? There was during Global Hack Week Web 3, I know I focused specifically on authentication and mobile apps with MetaMask. And I thought that was really helpful and really beneficial. And we ended up using the website and kind of dabbling around with Flutter, which I never really used before. And then I was like, hey, I really kind of want to jump into Android. And so I ended up jumping into Android and and Android native development from that segue, right? Or my main project, I'll give it a little bit of a sneak peek. For my project that I'm currently ideating on for my semester-long project, I really wanted to focus on something that has to do with board games. So I have, in my course right now, I had the task to come up with a semester-long project in artificial intelligence that could reasonably be completed by 3 to 5 college students in their last year of school. That was kind of the blanket statement. And so for me, at the very least, I wanted to have exposure to, I wanted to do a project with board games because I like board games. And so I thought, okay, I would have significantly more of a fun time working on a project where I was working with board games than if I say was working with some other form of system. Whether it's, I was working with my homework, or I was working with economics, or I was working with science, or I was working with, like, for example, one of the other projects, which is incredibly important and useful in the class, is like cancerous cell detection. And I know it might sound really silly, but at least to me, I was like, that sounds important and that sounds helpful, but I don't have the background that I feel like I need to have in order to take that project and do it well, right? I don't have a background in medicine whatsoever. I don't have a background, don't have an interest, don't have research in biomedical and engineering, bioinformatics, biology, anything along those lines, oncology, none of it, right? So I was like, I don't really have that specific understanding. On the other hand, at least for me, I wanted to have access and exposure to a system that just really did a good job of, I kind of wanted to create something where I could also learn about it and do it effectively. So I thought, if I focus on something that has to do with board games, right? I'm a pretty frequent board game player, play a lot of different board games. And so, at least for me, I thought that if I focus on a board game that I'm really passionate about and I really like, then it'll be a lot easier for me to focus on building out a more effective tool and framework. And so I decided to focus on a board game that I own called Ticket to Ride, initially for my project proposal. And we'll talk more about how things changed along the line for that when we delve more into that project. But at least for me, when I first dove into that project, I wanted to focus on Ticket to Ride. The reason why was because I knew for a fact that there was some form of interest or like benefit from the community in developing like a co-op partner in the form of some form of like AI to play along with, first off. Second of all, I knew there was a relatively easy game, like there was a limited number of sets, you had a map to figure it out, and C, initially after doing research, I figured out there's enough like literature and enough knowledge of this game in the like artificial intelligence world that some people have looked into the math side of this and said, oh yes, this is a solvable problem. We can make something with this. And so I approached it as like, let me pitch then Ticket to Ride to my classmates, and we'll talk more about that too. So like I mentioned, I've dabbled a lot in different artificial intelligence and machine learning projects. At least for me, one of the key things, and what I think I'll do for this stream as well, is create like a notes document. You know what? Let's do that real quick. I'm going to create a Notion document. I love Notion. It's very fun. So we'll go ahead and create a little Notion document where I'm taking some notes, and I'll share it with y'all at the end. So if my Notion will load. Oh my goodness. No. I've been having some really weird Wi-Fi issues recently in this apartment, but only on specific websites, and it's been really, really frustrating. So like I can use GitHub, but I can't use Notion, or Notion takes a really long time to load. So for example, that. So let's do that. So let's see. We'll go ahead and I'll end up making this. Awesome, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a page and call it your next AI and ML projects and tricks. Cool. Let's go ahead and type out in here. We'll do a heading 2 and we'll say how to determine a project idea. So we'll do that real quick. Let's do that determining project idea, and then I'll also go ahead and copy this really quickly so y'all can see it and follow along. And then last but certainly not least, I'll also share my screen again. So we'll go ahead and jump in. So for my next AI/ML project and sort of tips and tricks, and a little icon, and I'll make sure that when I get some downtime to spruce this up a bit as well. Go ahead and close this up. We don't need to look at my sidebar here. So determining a project idea, I like to go through a couple of things. First off, look for what I like to call pain points, right, in my life. Is there a tool or resource that could improve them? And so a key example of that was my Studio V app, right? Where the pain point was event management for a student organization I was a part of. Okay. Another example could be sleepy time, which was Global Hack Week February. February. Main point was improving quality sleep, relearning AI, or relearning mobile. Yeah, main point was improving quality sleep. Then the other thing is look for exciting tools and technologies you want to use in your project. At least for me, another example for this is sleepy time. I wanted to learn more about mobile app development in Swift outside of my previous experience. Right, and then another one that I think is really great, that is another great example of this, is Cheerify. So this was Global Hack Week, January 2024. I wanted to see how quickly I could develop a basic application in iOS, then how much longer it would take me to do the same in Android, and whether it was possible for me to do the same. And then I would also say also wanted to get a feel for which is easier and harder in certain aspects. Right, and then finally, look for a project that will keep you interested and engaged over the long term, right? So this is something I specifically like doing. I'll bring up my board game AI project. I had to, propose a project which would be completed in teams 3 to 5 team members across a whole semester. To me, that involved making an to me that involved incorporating something I was really passionate so it could keep my attention for long enough. In this case, that was valid. So yeah, that's a little bit about and I'll just add and I'm not going to write this down, but I did just want to make this point that I have a friend actually who told me this once, that for the second point here, at the very least when he creates projects, every single time he wants to do, he agrees to do a new project, it has to be done in a technology he has not yet used before in any project extensively. So that's something that I thought was honestly really interesting in his approach. So different ways of doing that. So then we have what I call the idea, which we'll call expanding your project idea, right? So we've got the general, I would say, one sentence description, right? So let's try and assume we have a one-ish sentence description that talks idea for a project, maybe your motivation behind it. So something along the lines of, a project that is effectively, if I provide you an example, right? So I want to make an application for global, or yeah, we'll do this. We'll talk through how I wanted to do Cheerify, right? So we'll say I want to create a good beginner-friendly project for AI and ML week that incorporates some of the tools I already know and some new tools I want to learn. So that's, I would say, my initial example. So from that example, I have a list of things that I like doing. The first one is to determine limitations and constraints. So this is really important. Is there a time limit for completing the project? Will this project ever be done? What is overall goal for completing this project, right? At the very least for me, here's the way that I like to think about these questions. And I'll offer you some of my answers to these questions when I was trying to come up with Purify, or at the very least Purify for this project. Is there a time limit for completing the project? I need to get the AI ML part of this project done within the 3-part live stream I have. We'll do within the 3 live streams I've scheduled, right? And then we have, will this project ever be done? I would like to keep it going, but reasonably, I will not have a lot of downtime to work on this project unless it is combined with one of my existing projects. And then what is my overall goal for completing this project? And that to me was really simple. Teach some other members of the MLH community about building AI and ML applications. Right, so that's what I would say was determine limitations and constraints. The other one is to, I think, I'm actually going to move this up here and call it into the outline goals section. And so this is what is my overall goal for completing this project. And then some other questions I like to ask is how much time do I have to dedicate, right, to this project, right? So for me, I had prep time before Global Hack Week streams, actual streams, and very limited time after. That's a little bit about like some of the issues that I face. And then we have, what is my overall goal for completing this project? Then I also have, is there a specific learning or growth goal in mind? So for me, that was not specifically. I did not have like a specific technology that I want to use. I would prefer to use at least one tool or technology I am not already familiar with. And then my other thing is for limitations is how much time do I have to dedicate to this project? And then my other question, which I ask every time, is how many other projects am I currently working on? So this is for me to gain a better understanding of kind of I like to think about it that I have, and I'm gonna take a break and get some water real quick. I like to think about it that my technical brain has a specific limitation of, my technical brain has like a set number of hours that it can dedicate in a day, in a week, in a month to technical projects. So if I've got too many technical projects, got too many technical projects on my plate, I'm not really going to be able to give all of them as much time and energy and dedication and love as they deserve. That can obviously be an issue because I'm trying to do lots of different things at once, and I'm trying to, make really fun things and make engaging streams for y'all, but I'm also a coach, right? So that means I'm traveling to different hackathons and interacting with hackers and using my technical brain in that way. I'm still in school, right? So I have my classes, and my classes are using technical brain power in different ways. Maybe I want to play board game or video game and I want to mod, and like if I'm installing mods, that's using my technical brain in a really weird way. But then I just have a set limited number of time of 8 hours in a day, but also be productive hours in a day that I can pay forward without feeling burnt out and stressed out and upset. So how many projects am I currently working on? I've got my semester-long project in AI. Then I have my hackathon commitments, my cooking commitments. And then we have other classes and job applications. It's kind of what I'm doing right now, right? I'm looking for a full-time job, so a lot of things taking up my technical engineering brain power in some way. So I have determined limitations and constraints and outline goals. So I have my overall goal in completing the project. Is there a specific learning or growth goal in mind? Then my other thing is, do I have someone to share my goal with? Yep, developer debt. That's exactly what it is. So for me, I have, my family, friends, and the Global Hack Week community, which is awesome. So I always feel supported in this goal. So then I like to think about potentially within my limitations and constraints. Sometimes I ask myself the question is, do I have the necessary tools and resources to succeed? And so, for example, I'll say, and this can be anything as simple as, I'll talk you through some of my process. I'll only be able to stream Monday through Thursday of GHW as I at gone the weekend before. And we'll do over the weekend. So that, for example, is a time limitation. I'll be able to stream over the weekend, and I don't like streaming without access to my monitor. So I think that is a great answer to kind of my limitations. Tools and resources. Time is a resource. Time is a tool. So that is a really big one. So then I like to outline my goals, and then I like to, I would say, not outline my goals, but I would like to what I like to call I don't have a specific phrase for this, but I like to do a survey. So we'll call it survey, the survey surroundings, right? So we'll call it that. And I like to say, are there any other projects I need to focus on that will benefit or hinder this project? So for this, for talking about, my experiences here, I am coaching a lot of events in February, which is awesome. Also picking up my new AI project in classes, working on lots of different things. But also feeling relatively strong in my mobile development concepts right now. Then I like to think about, are there specific tools and resources I want for this project? will I have access to them? And you can see these are kind of similar. For me, I was like, I would like to continue to mobile. Then I like to take a look at, are there any past experiences I can derive learning. And for me, this is kind of the big one that inspired me to continue with Cheerify. I have done a lot of different projects for Global Hack Week, but I have always never had the time to continue them. Would be awesome after Global Hack Week has ended. So to me, that was kind of a big reason for why I decided to go with Cheerify, right? I had all of this information, and so I thought, okay, so based on that, I would like to do, and then from what I do is, what are my goals, information. So what I like to do is, what is my extended goal statement for the project? So for this, I say I want to create a good beginner-friendly project that in my own way that incorporates some of the tools I already know and some new tools I want to learn. So I will say I want to expand on a project I previously made for Global Hack Week during AIML Week that incorporates some of the tools I already know, which is kind of figured with the part that I already made. That also includes new tools I want to learn. So I think that so this cannot be an extend, this can be an extended, or what I like to call a revised goal statement, right? Because this isn't much longer than my initial goal statement here, but it is my revised goal statement, right? So now that I have my revised goal statement, is I can think about, I would say, determine, we'll call it, the project management step of this ideation process, in which we take the goal that we initially came up with, further revised based on our wants, needs, and limits, and finally agreed as a direction moving forward. So we take, so from that, I like to, in this step, do the part which is, determine tools and technologies. So from this, I like to do something called, if I'm starting a project from scratch, that can be a little bit different. But if in the case of a project like Cheerify, here's what I had to work with, right? So Cheerify, I already knew used that fun arrow. Do I not have the fun arrow anymore? There we go. Cheerify used, or is it? I want the longer one. It's fine. So Cheerify used Swift or plus Kotlin, right? So one of them was native Android, native iOS, native Android phone apps. Then I have, you know, some of my other projects from previous Global Hack Weeks, right? So if we dig through my graveyard here, if you will, we've got, you know, Taskaroo, right? So Taskaroo was also in Swift. We have the Swift website, which was HTML, CSS, JS. So my example, I'm trying to make right, so that's what I kind of do there. We have Swift syntax, so this is so for open source contributions. Those are also all in Swift, right? Then we've got our tic-tac-toe, that's a workshop, our chat app. So that app, I know for a fact, was made in Flutter, MetaMask. And then we had with Requestify, we were doing, for now, I'm curious. Let's dip in here. Yeah, Requestify. We had some Objective-C. Yes, we're doing the Spotify API. We're building out our Spotify API application that I think we ended up abandoning. And then that is pretty much it for projects that I could have reasonably considered. So out of this list, right, I'm glad you like the task sessions, right? I kind of narrowed down to projects I could reasonably revisit. Right, and so that to me came down to these two. The reason for that was pretty simple. Number one, I liked the fact that these projects were relatively recent. They were mobile-based. And that they had great engagement during their Global Hack Week streams. So I wanted a project that could be easily revisited, easily welcome, and to that. So then between these two, I chose the project which was less technically complex to make it easier for me. Incorporate new AI ML features. Furthermore, at least for me, I thought that Cheerify had a more direct application of AI ML that did not feel as forced. If that makes sense. So, not everything that is here is always quantifiable and measurable. But at least for me, those were kind of the big things that I really wanted to include. So within that kind of led me to determining the final project. So I knew that we were going to expand on Cheerify. So final decision was to expand on Cheerify. Right, so then I had to determine whether I would use Android or Kotlin. Or, my goodness, I would use the Swift or Kotlin version, right? And to me, this came down to a very simple choice. And that was I will be starting a Kotlin class in February. Outside of Global Hack Week, I have no way to explore Swift. And I also added that I also currently have more knowledge about AI and ML in Swift. Out of habit, every time I write ML, I keep putting MLH. Oh, great question. Have you ever thought about learning React Native with Expo? I have. I dabbled a little bit in React Native with Expo. I made a project with a couple of friends as like a fun activity. I think at this point almost 2 years ago. We were in this fellowship for project management, and one of them was like a design person, and they wanted someone that had previous mobile app development experience, kind of help them through the process. So I dabbled in React Native there a bit. I would say, and the biggest issue that I had with both Flutter and React Native, and you know, this is entirely a personal thought, and I in no way, shape, or form bash anyone who prefers those tools over their native counterparts. But it kind of felt like I was developing a website for the phone. And that can be incredibly helpful when you are a primarily web developer looking to build mobile apps, or you're coming in from that background, or even you really need these apps to cross-translate. For me, I mostly at this point make apps for myself or for teaching purposes. So at the very least for me, it's a lot easier to learn stuff that I want to learn. And I like the fact that in both native platforms, there's really quick, really easy, really seamless ways to do certain things. Whereas it feels like if I'm doing something with React Native, it works really well until it doesn't. It feels like I'm writing things and sure they're making sense, but then I want to change something. Like a great example that I have is the like tab bar on Swift, right? In Swift. To declare a tab bar in Swift, all I have to do is like say tab bar. It's a tab view. It's a couple lines of code, very easy to integrate. If I'm doing the same thing in React Native, if I was super familiar with it, maybe it'll take me a few lines of code. Maybe. On the other hand, it would also, you know, ideally because it has to work cross-platform, it's more clunky. And so I don't like the clunk. And so for me, it makes more sense to, at least when I'm learning, develop things natively, especially as I consider, you know, kind of my next step in my career or in my life and everything. So that's stuff. Yeah. What about Flutter, and is it because of the JavaScript TypeScript? I think it definitely the fact that React Native still feels so similar to React, and I just have not had the best experiences learning React, and I still don't really understand it, and I still don't love JavaScript. I think that doesn't help. I would say my opinion there. I really like the Material 3 UI theme, though. I think it works. I mean, it looks pretty. It's a good starting point. It's a good launch pad for anything. That being said, I do also like the design aspect of things and getting to mess around with colors and patterns and styles and themes. I think it's more fun. And I think we have generally moved a little bit too much towards minimalism in our app designs. And I say that fully when Cheerify is entirely beige. So take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, what about Flutter? What's your take about it when it comes to web development, Flutter? Yeah, so it feels less web-like than React Native does. I'll definitely give you that. But it feels more clunky to set up. At the very least, like when I was setting up Xcode, right? All I had to do was download, like when I was setting up iOS development, all I have to do is download Xcode, and I'm pretty much all set. I have a functional, working, running Hello World app out of the box. Kotlin, I think it took me 30 minutes to set up, if that, right? Download the IDE, get an emulator, get it up and running, boom, suddenly Hello World app. I spent the entirety of the first stream when we were learning how to do Flutter installing and setting up and configuring Flutter. And yes, you only have to install it once, but the installation process is the first aspect. It's the first introduction that you give to a software. And so if your installation process is bad, sure, a veteran developer might not mind. But if you're me and you're starting and installing it for the first time and the entire process is super confusing, it's a big negative towards the app. And so frustrated by the install experience, I don't think I gave Flutter the full credit it deserves. That and Dart in general does not feel super intuitive sometimes. And it just might be because I'm not as experienced, and it still feels like I'm making a website. There's something about it. I think it's just the asynchronous requests and the way that things are handled. I mean, like I mentioned, I initially started in a mobile development background, so the whole concept of front end versus back end is not really a thing on mobile, thanks to the way that your mobile device works, right? Sure, you're making back end calls, you're making database calls, but you don't have to have a dedicated back end running things on the website. You can have calls and inefficiencies, and your phone is better at managing and putting a website well. So I think because of that, I still don't like the way that states work. And I understand the full concept of states in mobile. I'm okay, great, yeah, things modify. But something about it just doesn't click. And maybe it's just, I have to sit down with it and give it a couple more stabs. But at the very least, when I first, and honestly, this might also be because it's been so long since I've tried non-mobile dev, or since I've started Swift, that I might just not remember what it's like to start Swift anymore. I'm oh yeah, this goes here, this goes there. But I did not have that experience with Android either. I jumped into my first Android project, Android native with Kotlin. I remember this, and I had gotten it set up, and we were supposed to make an introductory page. It was a hello world, except it was supposed to be hello you. And so it was hello Kari, right? And so I sat down, I added an image, I quickly edited the image, I added some text, I added some buttons and styling, managed to get drag and drop. It felt like storyboarding a lot in Swift UI, and also storyboarding as in the way that we think about it, UI, UX, drag and drop. Kind of Figma style, and I really appreciated that on the other hand. And Flutter falls into that awkward middle where it's neither. And so does React Native. And that awkward middle is incredibly powerful, right? Because instead of managing two disjoint code bases, you're managing one. On the other hand, it's also frustrating, right? Because I'm it's good at neither. I know there's frameworks and libraries and tools and resources that make things more friendly, but I wish that out of the box, these things were easier to understand. I mean, that's a conversation for another time, though. I think generally, my main goal as an aspiring, or flooding or whatever verbiage you want to use, software engineer, it is my goal to make, and also coach, it is my goal to make the entry of tech more accessible to all. I think that's my driving principle behind nearly everything that I do in the tech sphere, is that the way that things are is not friendly. It's not helpful. And so it's reading those, just so your comment about reading the IKEA manuals. You see, the fact that I found putting together IKEA furniture way less confusing than Flutter. And I've got way less background in furniture than I do in tech and in mobile apps. So take that with a grain of salt. Not to bash on Flutter. I think it's got its time and it's got its place. And freaking done. All right. We got on a little bit of a side tangent, but I kind of love it. And so then here's what we're going to do. I'm going to finish up my thoughts real quick on why I wanted to do Cheerify. So I also wanted to use Yeah. So then I thought, it would be really fun to expand on those in a new way. We began to delve into sleepy time, the sleep journal. So yeah, so as I was saying, I had a really great experience, with my first Global Hackers streams with Sleepy Time. I thought it'd be really fun for me to use Create ML, Core ML frameworks, which we began to explore in those streams in kind of a new way. Within those streams, we looked a tiny bit into natural language processing when we did our sleep journal. For that specifically, we used a Twitter sentiment analysis to figure out whether someone was saying something positive, negative, or neutral. And based on those two statements, we decided to kind of create like a sleep journal, which would rate your sleep as good, bad, or just okay, based on what you wrote down in your little description. So that, and I remember this very vividly because I thought it was so cool back then. I still think it's due, don't get me wrong. But based on how confident the prediction was, the emoji would be tinted a different color. Like if the prediction was like 100%, like 100% sure about what it was saying, then the emoji would be really big and really bright, like 100% opacity. If it was like 60% sure, it'd be like slightly smaller and like 60% opacity. And I thought that was so cool. And I still agree with that. Don't get me wrong. I thought it was so cool, and I still believe it was very cool. But just something that I remember from there. All right, y'all. We are gonna take a quick break because I have got to go get more water because I've been talking so long. My throat is super dry. So I'm gonna call a quick, probably like 5-8-ish minute break right now. You are also being asked to grab some water, and we'll be back right around then. So I'm going to leave it on this section of the guide so all of my friends who might be joining can get to read along while I'm gone. And we'll be back probably right at 9:10 Eastern. So see y'all in about 9 minutes. Thanks y'all for being here so far. It's been a lovely stream. I tried to add myself back in and then I removed myself. Well, I got my water already. We're back. When I was getting my water, I came up with a section of this called the, for the project management, the You'll Thank Me Later section. And that is to take thorough notes on that you do, decisions that you make, etc. The save often, save early, push often, practice good programming habits, and then don't be afraid to ask for help. I think those are all very, very important lessons. We're going to remove the giant banner on the bottom, our combo there. So I think that is that. So then when we come down to my tool here, then we knew that we will be expanding on Purify using the Create ML and Core ML frameworks. There we will add natural processing, the library, functionality. And then based on that, I determined kind of what I wanted to. So based on this, we have the other section of this, which I call the determine. So we'll call it the. Yes, exactly. I think we don't often, especially when we're working on solo projects or personal projects, we don't value enough the importance of asking for help. You know, it's much easier when you're in school to go to a professor and go to office hours and go and ask. But when you're at home or when you're in your like personal life or when you're doing something like a personal project, sometimes feel undervaluing. It can be scary to pose a question at Stack Overflow or go talk to a friend or anything along those lines, especially when you value a personal project and you want to make sure that you're doing good. And sometimes it's scary to ask for help because it's like admitting that you don't know something. But on the other hand, it's important to know that you don't know something so you can learn. So I like to call is the MVP, right? So the MVP stands for minimum viable product. And you probably have heard of this term before, but you might have not. And so it means what is the minimum that we need accomplished in order to be satisfied with the project. So for Cherify, after February 2022, or 2024, the MVP is to have a fully function, or to have a functional, right? Not fully functional, we're putting functional. Fully functional is not an MVP. Functional. No, well, fully functional can be an MVP, depending on where you are in your stage and things like that. For this, fully functional is not the MVP. Because it's just me, and I'm just putting together a couple hours of work into it, right? So have a functional, which I'm defining as not broken, iOS application, which delivers affirmations to users. It also allows users to add and save new affirmations categorizes these affirmations based on natural language processing and sentiment analysis. And finally, functions. So that is our main goal here, right? So that is what I like to do for that. And then I like to dive into what I like to call the specifics. And so this is determining, and you'll often see this in project management realm as as Kanban boards, timelines, etc. In a personal project, does not have to be that intense, but if Kanban boards and tables and deadlines and structures bring you comfort, take it, do it, right? So for Cheerify, we have here's the state of affairs, right? So what we'll do is we'll go through our Cheerify example again, right? I like to think of all the things that we worked on. So we have our start iOS application, right? So sometimes you'll see these written out there's this idea of the user story, right? So it is written as a user, I want to blank in order to blank. So we'll go ahead and go through that. So as a user, I want to launch the app and see, and sometimes this in order to part is even optional, right? So it can help you determine if any steps are connected. So as a user, I want to launch the app and see a randomly shown affirmation, right? As a user, I want to navigate to the menu screen in order to see other application options, right? As a user, I want to navigate to the add affirmations screen in order to add an affirmation. As a user, hello! I'm happy you came for Global Hack Week. Thank you for joining. It was great to meet you too. Even though I don't exactly know who you are, but I'm sure it was great to meet you. It's very sweet. So as a user, I want to navigate to the add affirmation screen. As a user, I want to navigate to the favorite affirmations screen in order to just see my favorited. And then as a user, I want to be shown. We'll go ahead and move these in order too, right? Order matters. So I want to be shown the category of my favorite affirmation when I am on the have added, or when I have started to add an affirmation. Then we have as a user, I want to navigate to my favorite affirmations. Then we have, I'm like trying to think. We also have, as a user, I want to refresh the affirmation to see a new affirmation, right? Then, so I want to neighbor it to see just my favorite affirmations, right? As a user, I want to save an affirmation as one of my favorites in order to access it more easily from my favorites screen. Then to see other screens, then I will have the add affirmation, I mean the favorite affirmation screen, right? The category of my favorite affirmations when I start to add an affirmation. So within these, right, these user stories all have specific technical requirements, right? So this requires to like text field or text box, connection to affirmation API, saving results from API into text box, right? That's the best bare minimum. Then we have refresh the affirmation, that is, reestablish connection to the API, reset result in text box. Then we have save affirmation. This requires local / cloud storage, potentially. All right, navigate to the menu screen requires multiple screens. Functional buttons, etc. Same with this one, right? Then you want to be shown the category of your favorite affirmation when you start to add an affirmation. This one requires ability to add affirmation. So this will involve text field, right? This will require natural language processing and trained model. Incorporating the trained model into the application. And then this one requires multiple screens in application, affirmation, functional buttons, but also retrieving information from local data storage, right? So that is all awesome. And then you can figure out which one of these are actually done. And so what you'll usually do is have a little indicator on the side, right? So we know that the app is done. We're shown a randomly shown affirmation. We want to refresh the affirmation, see a new affirmation. We know that works. We want to save an affirmation as one of our favorites or access it most easily from our favorites. So this is in progress, right? And why is this in progress? Because our local and cloud data part is in progress. We don't have a good storage system set up right now. We want to navigate to menu screens or see other screens is done. We want to navigate to the add affirmation screen is also done. We want to be shown the category of your favorite affirmation when you've started an affirmation is actually also done. That being said, now that I'm thinking about it, this spins off a new affirmation, a new story that says, as a user, I want to save a custom affirmation, right? And this is in progress, also due to the local and cloud storage. Trying to get it to tab. No, there we go. So this is also not currently completed. And that is in progress, right? And then on the other hand, it also shows you how rewriting a story could move it from in progress to done, right? Because I want to navigate to the favorite affirmation screen is technically done. That being said, when we look at it, right? So in reality, we navigate to the favorite affirmation screen, but we're not actually shown anything on the favorite affirmation screen. So if we were to rewrite the story to say, as a user, I want to be shown my favorite affirmations on the affirmation screen, shown this actually shifts this over to in progress. If we were to keep that story the way that was originally written, we'd need another one for actually viewing our favorite affirmations in the favorite affirmation. Right? So that's the thing. It's important to keep in mind all of the little moving bits and pieces that we need in specific locations. So that is really important. But then, when we're looking at this, right, these are different. These user stories are different than the technical aspects that need to get done. Thinking about it in the way that a user works through it is really beneficial in developing things incrementally. So now what I like to also do is the step that I will call the putting everything together. And so this means that all of your notes, documentation, progress, etc. should be easily accessible from one location. So that can involve using Notion, GitHub, a Google Drive folder, a notebook, anything and everything in between, right? So for me, for Cheerify, and I actually did a really bad job of this, so we're going to improve this. This means updating this, potentially even creating a project here, right? Where you could create a new project and use some form of version control and tracking of this aspect of Cheerify, right? So we could use, in GitHub, there's already built-in planning and development and iterative development tracking for projects, right? So if I were to call this, Cheerify, in order to create this project, you will be able to see that we've got kind of current iteration, next iteration, prioritize backlog, roadmap, interview, my items, right? And so it's already created this project management view, which by default is private, only I can see it. I'm just choosing to share it with y'all right now. That can tell me, okay, here are the things that are really important. Here's my backlog of things that I'm focusing on in the future. Here's my ready, things that are in progress, in review, etc. Right? So I want to swap potentially, right, the order of these. So if I can hopefully prove my point, yeah, in progress, ready, in review, done. So I can get rid of in review because it's just me. So I've got backlog, in progress, ready, and done. And then I've got, different aspects of prioritizing some of my tasks there that can be really helpful. And so this is a private project that's included within my Cheerify repository, and I can access it from there. Okay. That being said, we also have issues, which we can keep track of specific bugs and specific fixes, link them up to our project, creating pull requests, right, if other people are working with us. But also, I think the bread and butter of this thing is kind of in an effective README. And so I want to create a README for the rest of this project, or for the rest of this stream, that really encompasses well what I want to accomplish with Cheerify. And really takes into account the things that I've been blabbing on about and puts them into practice. So let's do that. So we'll go ahead and get started by updating. So our README. So Cheerify is an iOS affirmation app designed to boost your spirits and promote positivity, built for Global Hack Week. At MLH, right? So what we're doing is we're starting off with that. We can maybe, go for a slightly smaller font there to still make our point, but kind of make it in a less obnoxious way, right? And so we could go ahead and potentially commit our changes, right? And see what that looks like. I think that looks great, right? And then we'll go ahead and talk through a little bit about potentially, add in things like the license or releases and all of that, right? So we'll potentially go through our settings here. We've got our default branch, all of these important settings, our pushes. Oh, no, we don't want to do that, right? So we've got rules, we've got environments, notifications, and all that, right? For me, what I want to do and accomplish with this is kind of put down what, so I think this is a good kind of, and there's a lot of great resources on like how to build out an effective README template, right? So maybe we'll just do it. Well, we're going to find a README template for in progress project GitHub. So we've got potentially right. So I'm going to go ahead and create a fork of the best README template right down here. So I'm so glad. I'm happy to be providing some beginner-friendly streams. So yeah, I know I don't have access to this project, but that's because I would like to create a fork of this project so I could create a blank README. So we'll go ahead and create a fork. Oh, apparently I already have one. That's funny. Go back to my profile. And then, it already saved. Silly me. There's the best README template, right? Public template, blank readme.md. Go ahead and take a look at it in here, right? And so it creates all of these badges and markdown links and all that. So what we'll do is copy this whole thing, right? And I'm just going to grab it and push it in here, right? So we've got improved compatibility of back top links. See that? So name, readme top. So now when we cancel our changes, we can see this is what it looks like. So contributors, forks, stars, issues, license, LinkedIn. So that could be really helpful. And then we've got enhancement and different logos. We can add in the logo, right? Repository. So we could, for example, in here, go in and add in github.com, me, and Cheerify. So add in github.com, me, Cheerify. And then there's an image, logo.png. We'll call it Cheerify. And then within Cheerify earlier, if we haven't saved yet, I can go ahead and add in a copy of this, right? And I could say an iOS affirmation app and to boost your spirit, positivity, built for Global Hack Week at MLH. So we've got our links here where we can ask people to explore the documentation, view a demo, report a bug, or request a feature, right? So potentially for now, we might not need all of these. So let's go ahead and comment them out, right? We don't need to worry about something is not going to, in the words of Marie Kondo, bring us joy. So we'll go ahead and start with table of contents, right? So we've got about the project, built with, getting started, prerequisites, installations, and then usage, roadmap, contributing, license, contact, and acknowledgement, right? So that walks through this table of contents right here. About the project, built with, getting started, prerequisites, installation, usage, roadmap, contributing, license, contact, and acknowledgements. Great way to just jump right into specific sections. So about the project, it could potentially have a screenshot of it, which I would love to include later. So we'll go ahead and let me comment. What was it? I literally just did it, so I don't know why it's not working. I feel like I've forgotten the shortcut in my brain. So, that's not letting me. My goodness. Sorry. And nope. Nope, that's a screenshot. My goodness. Why is my brain so fried? This is actually funny. Wasn't it command? Was it option hash? Nope. Control hash? No. Command hash? No. Command hash? No. That's a screenshot. Command hash? No, that's record initially. I literally just did it. Why am I forgetting the shortcut? You know what? It's fine. Because I wanna think like, was it command forwards? It's got something to slash, right? Is it command forward slash? No. Command shift forward slash? No. No, that's the division. Shift forward slash? No, that's an upside down. Control shift forward slash? No. No. I'm forgetting this. This is really funny to me. Okay. Well, either way, if it comes with a screenshot, to avoid retyping too much info, do a search and replace with a text editor for the following, right? So we'll do a search for GitHub username. And within that, we will replace it with my username. Replace all. Then we'll do repo name. And we will call it Cheerify. We'll replace all. And then email client, email project title, project description. So we'll do project title. We'll also replace with Cheerify. Project description. We'll replace with my whole things. Replace all. Go. So getting started, prerequisites, installation, usage, roadmap, contributing, license, contact, acknowledgements, and then all of these markdown things. So what we can do with this, right, is contributors, forks, start cases, issues, and license, and then so we've got, I just did that. How did I do that? Was it shift? No. No. Found it. Command forward slash. Found it. 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 My goodness. Why was that? Why was my brain so bad at that? Yeah. So about the project. Yep. Oh my, wait, it's not working on this part. That's why it wasn't working. That doesn't do anything. So I might just need to remove that. Because land temperature. So this would be a product screenshot. Here's a link temperature. Following, LinkedIn username. We'll also do that, sure. Yeah, so I don't have a Twitter handle, so I'm okay with that. Actually, I do have a Twitter. Let's get active on Twitter. Start posting about things what I do. I think it'd be really fun. Yeah. So, hypothetically, right, if I were to update this now, here's what it would look like. Got contributions once, Forks 23, star 6, issues 0 is open, license not specified, LinkedIn. Logo is missing, iOS, right, table of contents looks good. Product name screenshot is broken image. Here's blank template to get started. Getting started, right? Installation stuff, documentation, features, contributing, license, contact, acknowledgement. So what we would want to do is remove the license, the acknowledgements, and then we want to potentially remove the usage. So we have getting started, prerequisites, installations. Yeah, so table of contents, about the project, built with, getting started, prerequisites, installations, roadmap, contributing, license, contact, which is great. About the project, we'll remove this as well. So we've got, we'll add in, moving this, I'll make a note to add in, we'll do that in the standard format. So to do, add in a longer project description here. Right, and we've got built with, and all of these which link to these specific images. The fields for .io, right? So we would potentially want to replace these because I'm not using any of these tools. So built with needs a full replacement. I'm going to keep one of these, and we'll keep Angular for funsies to kind of show off what I want to talk about. So this is an example of how you may give instructions on setting up your project locally to get a local copy up and running. Follow these simple exact steps. Requisites. You can list things so you can use the software and install them. Installations. Get a free API key, clone the repo, install packages, enter your API, usage examples. More examples, please. Yes, I don't think we need usage right now, just based on project, right? So we've got roadmap, which is where we would put in some of our very useful information that we learned, right? So feature 1 would be feature 2, feature 3, nested feature, see open issues, contributions, license, and things like that. So that could be a good way to potentially get this project up and running. So we've got that as a good start. You know, we're improving what we want. So let's try and let me do some. Right. So to add a license to my repository. File. This will be license. License template. Please. MIT license. Review and submit. That changes. We create a license. Like that. Sweet. So we've got our license set up. Helps us in a lot of ways. Please review it below and either commit it to the master branch or a new branch. And we've got getting started. To get a local copy up and running, follow these steps. We'll copy running. All these steps. Alright, so we'll update the README, see what it looks like now. Still saying license.specified. Because it's license.txt. Silly me. There we go. Swap that real quick. Now let it refresh. So we'll add it up on little comments. Still saying license, my goodness. Well, long story short, this just teaches you that sometimes not getting bogged down in little details like that can be helpful. So on that note, I think it's a great time to wrap up this stream. If you would like to read through our thought process here, you can go ahead and do so at this Notion document. You can also go ahead and follow Cheerify at this GitHub repository link right here. Don't forget to check into the event. You can find the check-in link in the Discord. In addition to that, if you have any questions, I'm going to be on for the next few minutes to help answer any of your questions about developing projects, figuring out those next steps, that organizational side of it, or talking through that. We do not get pretty much any time to talk about Catan, and that is perfectly okay. You just have to stay tuned for a different story time. Come and ask me about it on one of my other streams tomorrow on Wednesday. You can come and chat with me a little bit about some other things, which will be very, very fun. On that note, yeah, like I mentioned, I'm going to thank you all very much for coming right now, which I'm actively doing. And I'm going to stay on for another minute or two, let y'all answer some, or not answer, let y'all ask some questions if you happen to have them. Otherwise, we'll probably just head off for the night and you had a wonderful global hack week so far. I'm excited to keep going. I think we've got really fun things in mind. All right. What is the name of the music in the background? That is a great question. We just get like a series of background music. So at least on my end, it's called AI or AL. I could not tell you, and it's the techno track at 140 BPM. It's my personal favorite of all the options we get. So that's the one that I do. And it's fun. It breaks things up a little bit. It's a little bouncy. I think it's the perfect one for Global Hack Week, just because it's lively, it's engaging. Yeah, MLH. I love it. We're gonna live that off as a little shout out for the end. But awesome. Well, thank you all very much for coming. I already said that, but I'm gonna say it again. Because without you, these streams wouldn't be possible. So we're very happy that you're here. I look forward to seeing you at the rest of our Global Hack Week streams. If it happens to be, we've got a fun question. How'd you join MLH as a coach? I applied online. That's it. Applied online. I used to be a hackathon organizer. Really wanted to still be a part of the community. Didn't really want to organize anymore. And found the coaches program as a great way to start keep being a part of the community. Ooh, another really fun one. Do you have some user-friendly open source projects I would to contribute to? Even today, I don't know if you saw, or this might have been during Cheerify, but affirmations.dev, the project that we're looking at for Cheerify, is open source. And that project has, feel free to contribute open source additional affirmations if you feel like you could use them. So it's a great, really exciting one. Yes, good night, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm so glad. Sometimes it's easier to just talk through and be like, hey, you kind of need to figure out what it is you even want to build, right? Because a project sounds awesome, but if you're not excited about it, then it's very hard to get other people excited about it. And that's, at the end of the day, I think of software as building stuff to make other people's lives easier. I can include my own. Or better, or more fun, or more exciting, or more engaging, or more profitable, right? More efficient, anything along those lines. But you're improving, the software that you're building should change people's lives for the better. It doesn't have to be in a really big way. It does not have to be, I'm going to reinvent the wheel. but it starts small, and that small can still be super impactful. And so it's important, I think, to talk about how do you make those projects in a way that are impactful, and plan things out, and talk through issues, and ask for help, and write things out. And where do you go when you have an idea but it's not feasible, right? Do you table it? Yeah, sometimes that's the best thing to do. Leave it until next month, leave it until next year. Not every idea is worth developing, and that is perfectly okay, because there's plenty of other things that you can do, and there'll be plenty of other greater ideas and better times for you to work on those ideas. That's a beautiful thing about the stuff that we do. Awesome, friends. Well, lovely. Really got to a very fun time answering questions. I'm going to give you all another 30 seconds. Last minute question. Water while I wait. We love water. Water is great. Awesome. Last call. All right, sweet. I am going to head off for the night and enjoy my evening. I hope you did too. I will see y'all in my very next stream, I hope. And if not, enjoy the rest of the Hack Week, and I'll see you in the next one.